in the interest for everyone, I'm just recording this session so that if someone misses this valuable session, we can share the link with them. And maybe I'll do a quick kickoff. Hello, everyone. Good to see you all. We have amongst us Mr. Avinash from the Friends of Snake organization. Uh, I would love to know more about his background. The thing that I've got to know is that he is a practicing hepatologist. Avinash, please correct me if I got it
That's
wrong.
correct. Yes, yes, it is right.
And he has been, which is experts who actually deal with the knowledge of reptiles. And he has been practicing this for the last 20 years. So we are really, really happy to have you join us in the virtual community, Avinash. And over to you to help us basically deal with the subject, which sounds so alien. The problem is that in our society, in our community, we have been spotting a lot of snakes, and probably we have gotten into their domain. Actually, I think this must have been their land. We have occupied it, so we keep spotting them. It puts us into a panic, and definitely it puts us into risk. And we are most of us are completely oblivious as to what should we be doing. Many a time we have actually got them captured. Many times we have got our security kill them. Many times we have got them put into boxes and handed over to the right people, right persons. We don't know what is right, what is wrong. So we want to use this session to get all this clarified so that we do it right, we remain safe, and also kind of handle any untoward incident, God forbid, if it happens. So that is the agenda. Over to you, Avinash ji.
Thank you so much, Samir ji. So good evening, everyone. As Samir rightly pointed out, we have been facing a lot of snakes in our community. And the reason why I am joining in today is to rather have an informal chat with everyone. And should you have any questions, we will gladly have them clarified. We'll probably have a question and answer session towards the end, probably after 30 minutes or so. But before that, I thought I'll share a rather brief presentation of the common snakes that we are bound to spot. The thing is, people are scared of snakes because there is a myth that all snakes are dangerous and every snake can kill you. That is not true. Only a small fragment of species have venom. Majority of the chunk do not have any venom whatsoever. First thing. Then there are loads of stories about them that they take revenge, or they can change shape. They can transform into human beings. So many stories about snakes that these stories make us fear them, right? So today's session is more of an interaction. Let us kind of, if you have any questions, you please stop me and get these clarified so that we kind of are aware as to how to handle snakes that are spotted in our community. Give me one moment, I'll just share my screen. Are you all able to see this presentation?
Yes.
Perfect. So this is a common template that we use, which talks about the common species of snake that are found, their importance, what are the threats that they face, and then it talks more about human-wildlife conflict. That is the major topic of interest for today. We are more concerned about handling snakes and avoiding snake bites, right? So we'll be talking about human-wildlife conflict, and then obviously how do we handle snake bites, and we'll try to conclude it with a question and answer towards the end. You all are aware snakes do not have limbs, right? They don't have hands, they don't have legs, yet they are adept at climbing trees. They swim in oceans. They also bury themselves under the ground. They stay underground also. They kind of stay in every single habitat that we are aware of. We don't have snakes that fly, but then there are snakes that can actually glide from higher perch to a lower one. So and they come in various sizes. There are pythons that grow pretty long, and then there are very small snakes called the thread snakes and blind snakes, which are probably 3 or 4 inch in length, right? And then there are, as you're aware, certain species which have modified, or rather, more evolved anatomy, which also includes an arsenal that helps them hunt, which is the venom. And these venomous species can cause threat to human beings also. Just quickly look at the number of snakes that we have. By the way, this is Friends of Snake Society. We've been working for snake conservation since 1995. Every year, we rescue a lot of snakes from habitation and leave them back in the jungle with the help of the Telangana Forest Department. We also conduct awareness sessions so that we are trying to help people coexist with these reptiles. A little bit of statistics about Indian subcontinent. This is more specifically about India as a nation. We have some 332 different species of snakes, but the most important aspect here is the number of the venomous snakes versus the non-venomous ones. Notice that there are only 71 species of venomous snakes in India, whereas the majority of them are non-venomous species. Right? We have some 261 non-venomous species. Of these 71 also, that if we further classify them, depending on their toxicity or their threat, there are about 21 sea snakes, right? All sea snakes in India are highly venomous. There is no anti-venom for sea snakes, but then these are very docile snakes. They don't usually attack human beings. They don't attempt to bite. So sometimes fishermen catch these animals in their fishing net and throw them back in the water with bare hands. They rarely get bitten. So let's forget the 21 sea snakes. We are left with some 50 snakes. Here's the categorization. Of these, about 46 are either very rare in nature or their venom is not potent to kill a human being. It can kill a bird, it can kill a lizard, but they are not strong enough to kill a human being. So the only four animals that we should be aware of are these big four venomous snakes of India. And luckily for us in Hyderabad, there are only big three species that are spotted. One is the Russell's viper, second is the common krait, and third is the spectacled cobra. These are the three venomous snakes that we can find in and around our homes. So we should be able to identify them. And if we do spot one, maintain distance and contact us, and we'll try to rescue them safely. We'll talk about the venomous snakes towards the end. I wanted to show you all the common species that one might notice in our backyard. Now, these are common non-venomous species, which we are bound to spot, right? The first one that you're looking at is a green colored snake. It is long, slender, grows up to 3 feet in length. From head to tail, the animal has only one uniform green color pattern, right? And the head region also, if you notice, it is rather long and pointed. People say that the snake uses the pointed head to bite in the eyes or enter the ears and things like that. Now, all of those are myths that people have. It is not true. It only resembles a leaf. It kind of gives the animal an added camouflage. So if it were to hunt a lizard, it usually goes unnoticed until it is ready to pounce, right? So the green wine snake is a harmless species. Notice that they are active during the daytime. They are usually found on trees. Sometimes you might find them on shrubs or lying or low hanging vegetation also. They usually feed on birds, lizards, rodents, and frogs. All of these icons I've provided so that you all understand easily. I will be sharing this presentation with you. If you want to kind of use it as a reference, you can do that. The green wine snake, as I told you, is a harmless species that we come across. Another common animal that we spot is the bronze back tree snake. It's got a bronze color line from the head till the tail tip, and that's why it's called the bronze back tree snake. Otherwise, the snake is a dark chocolate brown colored animal, and it's got a lower underside, or rather, a lighter underside. The ventral region, the lower part of the animal is called the ventral side, and these animals have kind of creamy off-white underside, and on top you will have a dark chocolate colored scales, and right in between these dark chocolate colored scales you have one long stripe running from the head till the tail, right? The bronzeback tree snakes are again long and slender, because slender snakes are amazing when it comes to maneuverability amongst the canopy, right? They are very fast because of their slenderness. These are also harmless species. They are again active during the daytime, and they love eating rodents, birds, frogs, and sometimes, I'm sorry, usually lizards and rodents rarely. People are scared of this animal because they say that this one takes revenge. It waits for people to walk down on the ground below. It will wait on treetops, and if it spots a person walking on the ground, it will jump from there, land on the person's head, and bite them and kill them instantly, right? Which is not true. The snake does not have any venom whatsoever. All of these are common non-venomous species that we can spot in and around our houses. Now, the common sand boa, this individual that you're looking at, is a nocturnal snake. It is active during the night time. It's a fossorial animal, which means that it lives under the ground usually. Sometimes you do spot them on the ground when they are out for hunting. Otherwise, they remain under the ground. They prefer eating rodents, birds, lizards, and most importantly, snakes, right? So if you have a common sand boa in your community, I would recommend not to kill them and not to remove them from that particular place, because they control the population of the dangerous snakes, the venomous snakes also, right? This is a biological control of venomous snakes in a particular area. Very easy to identify this individual. It has black patches on the body. These patches do not have a particular shape or pattern. Simple irregular blotches throughout the body, and that's how one can identify a common sand boa. Okay. People say that this one is again a dangerous snake. They say that the snake will lick you, and then all the patches on the snake will get transferred onto the human being. None of them, that is definitely not true. Snakes cannot transfer pigments, skin pigments with their lick. Another species that is commonly spotted is the red sand boa. People call it the two-headed snakes sometimes. In Telugu, rendu talala pamu, in Hindi, do muha ya do mundi wala sam. But in reality, does not have two heads. On the right hand side, you have the head at the mouse pointer. You have the real head, and on the left hand side, you have a blunt tail, which looks like a head. It's a very slow moving animal, so it cannot outrun the predator. Instead, what they do is they kind of use the blunt tail, and they start waving the tail in the air. The predator gets confused and they start biting or pecking the tail region. Using the real head, the animal buries itself under the ground and it escapes. It is just a decoy or a strategy that this particular species employs to get away from threat. But in reality, there are no two-headed snakes in the world. You can have two heads on one side. That's a genetic disorder where human beings are also born with two heads and fused bodies. Happens in snakes also, but you cannot have two heads on either ends. The red sand boa is a very beneficial snake again because it controls rodent population and they also eat other snakes. They are usually active during the night time. You don't spot them during the day. They live under the ground. A common water snake that we usually found is that we usually find in and around our dwelling spaces is the checkered keelback. It's got these black and white dots on the body, and that's why it's called the checkered keelback, right? They are active both during the daytime and nighttime. And if you have a water body in and around your community, you are bound to spot these animals also. They come onto the land, they are comfortable on the land as well, but usually prefer staying in and around water bodies. They eat fish, frogs, and sometimes they also scavenge dead meat, dead animals. Okay. That's another snake that is common, which is called the wolf snake. They have these very long projections, just like a dog's canine. That's why it's called a wolf snake. People call it Nune Katlapamu in Telugu, not to be confused with another venomous snake called Katlapamu. Nune Katlapamu is a non-venomous species. This wolf snake is a non-venomous species which does not have venom. Notice that the color on this animal is brown and it has these yellow stripes on the body. There's another dangerous snake called the Katlapamu or the common crate, which is black in color with white lines on the body. And those lines are also paired. They occur as two lines, and then there'll be considerable gap between the the other subsequent lines. The wolf snake, brown one with yellow lines, is a harmless species. It comes out during the night time and they eat lizards. This one is a fast-moving diurnal species called the banded racer. Looks like a cobra from a distance because of the coloration, but obviously the snake does not have a hood. And if you observe closely, and if you have time to observe it closely, you will be able to spot these white bands that are present on the front region of the snake. And then towards the end, these bands disappear. These white bands are present on a banded razor, and you will not spot them on a cobra. Now, a very common non-venomous species is the rat snake. Telugulo, it is called Jerripotu or Jerrigodu. In Hindi, it is referred to as the daman. It's a very common species, grows up to 10 feet in length. Usually, they are yellowish in color with these black lines from the mid body till the tail tip. It's very easy to identify rat snakes because of these colorations. And apart from that, they have a very lustrous, shiny skin. They are very fast moving animals. So if you ever spot one, you would spot the animal getting away from you in a jiffy. They have that timid behavior of theirs. They avoid human confrontation at all cost. So rat snakes are versatile urban dwelling snakes. They eat anything that they can find, right from frogs, lizards, rodents, birds, and even other snakes. So they are referred to as the farmer's friend because they are very good at controlling rodent population. And it is beneficial to us, especially in urban communities, because they control the population of venomous snakes also. Right. The last non-venomous snake that I wanted to talk about is the Indian rock python. Pythons are not very common these days because of habitat destruction. These species are getting wiped away. Usually, they are found in and around undisturbed lands with rocky outcrop. They are large-bodied animals, so they prefer areas with a lot of crevices. A nocturnal snake, although they are long and they are large, they grow up to 10, 15 feet without any difficulty. These animals are rarely spotted by human beings because they are very secretive. They come out during the night, and it is a rare phenomena to kind of spot these snakes. Sometimes they do come onto the main road and people do spot them. We end up rescuing them, but otherwise they avoid detection in most of the situations. There are a lot of stories about pythons. People say that they can create a vacuum to suck everything in. All of those things are not true. They're not a threat to human beings as such because they don't grow pretty long. Usually, or rather, the average size that we come across in the city is about 8 to 9 feet in length, and then at that weight, they are about 20 to 30 kilograms. It is not a threat to human beings because we are basically not on the snake's menu. They would prefer eating rodents. They sometimes end up eating larger animals like a dog or a goat, but they're usually not a threat to human beings. So that's the Indian rock python. Easy to identify because just notice that it's got a very lustrous, shiny skin. They have these large patches on the body, large squarish patches on the body, and they have a very reddish head. Okay, that's the Indian rock python. Now I'll just show you pictures of these venomous species that we should be careful of. I told you before that there are 4 snakes in India, which are called the big 4 venomous snakes of India, which one should be careful of because these 4 animals contribute to 95% of the snake bite cases that happen in India.
So Avinash, when you
Yes.
talk about it, it'll be helpful based on your data points, which are the ones which are more prevalently visible in Narsingi, Manchirovala, this particular area, right? Because based on the experience you've had, that'll be helpful so that we can relate.
Yeah, except for the python, the common species that I pointed out, all of them are rescued in and around Narsingi area. Pythons are also we did rescue pythons historically from Narsingi, but of late, especially in the last 5-10 years, we've not had that high number of pythons being rescued from your area. But apart from that, all the other snakes that I showed you are the common ones that we are bound to spot in and around our community.
Okay.
Right. Now, the common crate is a snake that is nocturnal in nature. They come out during the night time. People get confused between crates and another species called the Nuna Katlepamu. I'm sure you must remember that there's another snake that I talked about, the wolf snake, which was brown colored animal with yellow bands on the body. Now notice the common crate here, right? It is jet black in color with white lines on the body. And these lines also occur in pairs. Observe that the first band is close to the second one, and then there is this considerable gap before the third and the fourth pair, right? This is a pattern that you will find only on the crates. They are nocturnal species. They come out usually during the night time, and people often get bitten by these snakes during the night time. Sometimes when they kind of step out of their homes and then walk in unlit areas, they get bitten when they step on a snake. And on few other occasions, these animals actively come or rather seek human beings and try to sleep under human beings, not just human beings, any warm-blooded animals. There's a small aspect of snake biology I'd like to talk. All of these animals, all snakes and reptiles, are cold-blooded animals. Basically, whatever metabolism that they have, it does not produce enough energy to kind of sustain its body temperature. So they'll have to rely on external sources of heat to increase their body activity, body metabolism, right? So usually snakes use the sun to increase their body temperature. They come out early in the morning. They sit in the open, right, in a bright, well-lit place, and they bask. They increase their body temperature. They sit in that position for half an hour, 40 minutes. And once the body temperature is sufficient enough, they go about doing their business, which is usually hunting or sourcing food. Now, the nocturnal snakes do not have that advantage of increasing their body temperature. So what they instead do is they lie on warm surfaces, usually tar roads, rocks, and sometimes underneath warm-blooded animals. A cattle, it could be a cattle, it could be a human being. They lie in close contact with this animal to increase their body temperature, and after they are ready, they kind of go about doing their business. But sometimes in our sleep, if we keep our hand or leg on these animals, they turn around and they tend to bite. So especially in villages, a lot of snake bites, especially crate bites, are reported where people get bitten in their sleep and sometimes they rarely wake up. Right? Common crates are notorious for that. They have strong strong neurotoxic venom which affects the nervous system. Okay, that's the first specimen. The second one that we should be aware of is the spectacled cobra. Now, these are very common species that are found in our region. In fact, close to 5,000 cobras are rescued from Hyderabad on an annual basis. Right? These animals are adapted to surviving in urban disturbed landscapes. They prefer, or rather, they eat anything that they can fit in their mouth, right? They eat frogs, birds, rodents, snakes, bird eggs, lizards, and anything that they can find, they happily consume. And they have a very flexible body and a really potent venom. And that's why they have no problems living in and around human dwellings, moving from one rodent burrow to another, or staying underneath uh, debris for long lengths of time. Cobras are active both during the daytime and nighttime, and it's a terrestrial species, meaning they usually are on the land. They rarely climb trees. They are capable of it, but they rarely climb trees. Right. Quite easy to identify this individual. If we get close to an individual, it kind of shows a hood and makes itself look larger than they are, right? And when they open that hood, one can notice this U-shaped mark behind the hood, and that's why we call it the spectacled cobra. There are other species of cobras with different markings on their body, but in South India, especially Telangana, we only find this species. So uniform brown color without any pattern or bands, it could be a cobra. So that's a monocled cobra, which you find in North India there with a single circle behind the hood. The third venomous species that we should be careful of is the Russell's viper. Russell's vipers are common species. We do spot them in and around our homes. Very beautiful snake. It has this regular pattern throughout the body. Remember, the common sand boa had irregular patches on the body, but the Russell's viper has regular oval pattern throughout the body. Right. This is a nocturnal snake. Comes out during the night to feed or consume rodents. So if you have to walk, step out during the night, ensure that you're using a torchlight, especially while walking in unlit areas. But that said, this is a good snake because it kind of gives out a loud hiss, trying to warn that it is present there. Just avoid the warning sound and you should be safe. There's another species called the soft-scale viper. We don't spot them in our area, so let us not worry ourselves about it. But these are the big four venomous species that are found. And more relevant to us are the first three venomous species that I showed you. I'll just show the pictures again. Common crate, Katlapamo in Telugu, Kharet or Khyali in Hindi. Next one is the spectacle cobra, Trajpamu or Nampamu in Telugu, Nagsamp in Hindi. The third is the Russell's viper, Telugu Rakta Pinjara. In Hindi, it is called as Gonus or the Boya. These are the three snakes that you should be careful of, and rest of them can be considered harmless. Now, why are snakes important? They are part of the food chain. We like it or not, they are contributing to a functioning ecosystem. I'll give you a small example. Let's say from a particular place, we remove all the snakes. Let us look at the population of other animals that are related to snakes. First animal group, let's talk about rodents. If snakes are not there, rodent populations will explode. There are other predators that rodents have. There are cats, dogs, birds, yes, but no other predator can enter into a rodent's burrow and consume rodents from within their safe hideout. Right? Only snakes can do that. Let's assume snakes are not there. Rodent populations will explode without a control. Right? Let us look at frogs. Again, if there are no snakes, frog populations will also explode. Now, what will happen if rodent and frog populations explode? It means that insect populations will dwindle down, and there'll not be many insects to pollinate. And then rodents also can end up eating standing crop, not just the grains, they also destroy crop. Invariably, in a long run, all of these population explosion will kind of lead to imbalance in the ecosystem. And human beings, if we try to intervene and try to bring in a balance, it is a very costly affair, and sometimes we might not be able to do it as good as the nature, right? Yet despite that, we mercilessly kill snakes, not the ones that enter our houses. Snakes that are going on the road minding their business, they kind of are killed by vehicles, right? So people end up either intentionally or unintentionally killing them. But we'll have to realize at one point in time that we have to have habitat where these animals are protected. Snakes are also important in various drug manufacturing. They are important research group in studying our own evolution. So they are crucial to our own existence. Just skip these aspects. Why are snakes getting killed? These are all the various biotic and abiotic factors that contribute to their death. Just skip that. This is an important aspect. Snake bites, I'll briefly touch upon this. Remember this, venomous snakes have this anatomy on their head. They have a venom gland which synthesizes and stores venom, right? Venom gland is connected to the fang through a small pipe or a tube called the venom duct, right? Fang is a specialized teeth which has an opening towards the base through which the venom is delivered into the organism or the victim. Then apart from that, snakes have a compressor muscle around the venom gland. So if a snake bites you, it does not inject venom automatically. It has to compress that muscle and only then venom gets injected. So there are plenty of scenarios where a venomous snake can bite a human being, but they do not press that compressor muscle. They do not waste venom on human beings. And in such situations, even treatment is not required. People recover without any intervention. Right. Depending on the species, you can have neurotoxic or hemotoxic symptoms. One set of symptoms affects your nervous system. The other set affects your blood streams, blood vessels, and blood cells. Cobras have strong neurotoxic venom. These are images from a cobra bite. Whenever there's a cobra bite, apart from the fang marks, you will also find a lot of discoloration and swelling at the bite site. If treatment is not taken on time, people die of respiratory failure. But then that is if treatment is not taken on time. Usually people survive 6 to 12 hours after a snake bite. Sometimes people also make it to 24 hours, depending on the quantity of venom injected. But we recommend that anti-venom or treatment should be sought or should be started within 1 hour of snake bite. Okay. Common kraits have strong neurotoxic venom, which again affects the nervous system. If treatment is not taken, again, people die of respiratory failure. Yeah, this particular individual is usually confusing. Common kraits have neurotoxic venom or pure neurotoxic venom, and they do not cause other symptoms like swelling or discoloration at the bite site. So sometimes treating common krait bites can be a confusing aspect. Finally, vipers, they cause a lot of tissue damage. They have hemotoxic venom, which affects the blood cells. They stop the clotting from happening, creates a lot of havoc in the body. And usually people die after 24 to 48 hours of snake bite if treatment is not taken on time due to renal injury, due to kidney failure. So those are the common manifestations of a snake bite. What should one do in case of a snake bite? All snake bites are treated, right? Be it a cobra or a viper or a krait, we have treatment for them. So all we need to do is go to the nearest hospital and get yourself treated. And we should try to reach the hospital within 1 hour of time. While you're doing that, be calm. Do not exert yourself. Do not take stress. Just if it is someone that you know, just tell them that it is okay and snake bites are treatable. Just give them confidence. That way they'll do better. If you are having a panic attack, your heartbeat will increase and the blood circulation will increase, and so will the complications of a snake bite. Second, immobilize the bite site. Do not exert yourself. Do not move the bitten area. Probably tie a splint just like the way we handle a fracture. That's about it. Do not exert yourself and get to the hospital. No tantrics or babas, direct hospital, and you'll get treatment there. Finally, tell the doctor about the symptoms that you're facing and they will start the anti-venom therapy. This is the anti-venom vial that doctors use. Okay, it's a polyvalent anti-venom, which means that it works for all the big four venomous snakes. Yeah, finally, how do we avoid snake bite? I think everyone is aware of this aspect. How do we avoid snake bite? We avoid them by maintaining our distance. There are a few things that we could probably alter in and around our homes to ensure that snakes are not attracted to our place. Snakes do come in search of food or shelter. So if you have a lot of garbage or debris, please get that cleared, because a lot of debris could mean cooler space for a lot of critters, not just lizards. It can also be inviting for rodents or other animals. And in search of these prey animals, you might have a snake visit your vicinity. So ensure that garbage is properly disposed. And if you have any construction debris lying around, please have them removed, because again, cooler places can give comfortable shelter, not just for snakes, but all sorts of other animals as well. Avoid dense ornamental vegetation. If you have, please do trim them regularly so that there is visibility. Even if there's something sitting there, you should be able to spot it. And then again, if you are able to see through, the place would not provide sufficient shelter for these, sufficient hideout for these animals. And if you're walking out during the nighttime, please ensure that you're using a torchlight. If you have to pick something from the ground, don't directly keep your hand underneath the item. Try tapping the area, or prod the crevices, and then only then only you should lift an item from the ground. Right? These are a few things that we can probably follow to reduce snake sightings and also snake bites. So yeah, so this is the presentation about the common snakes. I hope it was informative. Let us kind of have a quick interaction and see if we can clarify a few queries.
Sure. Thank you, Avinash. This was really informative. Friends, feel free to let's ask questions from Avinash, and you can unmute yourself.
Avinash, good evening. This is Dr.
Good evening.
Dayakar Rao from Villa number 3, Mantri Euphoria. Is few of the
Good evening,
residents have complained that snakes suddenly they are seen on the first floor of their in the villas.
Okay, those snakes that are capable of climbing first floor of a villa are usually those that live on trees. You have the bronze back tree snake, you have wolf snakes that are good climbers. So if at all snakes are coming into the building, then they're probably taking support of the vegetation adjacent. So if you have any branches that are close by, please have them trimmed, and I think that should solve your problem.
Are they venomous?
Yeah, most of them are not. Those that are able to climb up to first floor, they are not. That said, we should never take any chances.
Yes.
If you have any tree branches abutting a building, please have them trimmed. Maintain at least 3 feet of gap from the building wall or your balcony to the adjacent tree branch.
Thanks, Avinash.
Mr. Avinash?
Yes, ma'am.
Please clarify about tourniquets, do's and don'ts.
Okay. Ideally, tourniquets are not recommended because there are certain species of snakes that have venom which can destroy the tissues. They destroy the cells. And the Russell's viper venom is broadly classified as a hemotoxic venom because it affects the blood cells. But apart from that, they are also really good at destroying the tissues, destroying the cells. Now, if there's a rodent that this particular snake, the Russell's viper, intends to consume, it will bite the rodent, inject the venom, and the rodent will get away from the snake. The snake will follow the urine trail of the rodent and try to reach the rodent and start consuming the rodent head first. Even before the snake starts the consumption process, the body of the rodent is partially digested from within because of the venom, right? So in such situations, in case of Russell's viper bites, it is recommended that there should be no restriction, no tourniquet that should be tied to the bite side, because it can kind of cause complications. The concentrated venom will start digesting tissues. So doctors avoid, or rather doctors recommend that tourniquets or any restricting material should be avoided. If you're sure it's not a viper, if it is another species, then yeah, you always can tie a pressure bandage. Pressure bandage is something that simply applies pressure at the bite site, but ensure that it only applies pressure and is not too tight. Doctors recommend that you should be able to slide 2 fingers through the pressure bandage, and then only then the pressure is tight. If you're able to do it right, you can do that.
We need to release the pressure in between periodically.
Not required. If you're tying a pressure bandage, not required, because you're not applying a lot of pressure. You're only constricting the bite side. You're not stopping the blood from flowing through the body.
Okay. So what do you recommend to keep in our emergency kit in a society like us?
You can keep a tourniquet, but I would recommend reaching a hospital within 1 hour's time is prudent. Probably it's the best thing that we can do. You can keep antivenom vial along with you, but that said, antivenom cannot be administered by ourselves. Sometimes people react to antivenom, so it is best done in a hospital. The antivenom can be carried along with the victim, so that in case the hospital does not have sufficient vials, then these doses can be used.
And which position do you recommend while carrying the patient to the hospital, transporting?
Normal seating position will work good. It doesn't matter in what position they are. Ideally, they say that if your bitten limb should be lower than your heart, but that does not matter as long as the person is not exerting themselves. They are okay.
And not using that limb.
Not using
That limb, the not moving the
yeah,
limb.
they should avoid moving the limb. Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
And can we apply splint instead of pressure bandage to keep the
If it's a wipe up, yeah, you always can support the bite side by applying a splint.
that would
Yeah, that will help keep the bitten limb without much movement. You can do that. If you have a trained paramedic, yeah, you can always tie a splint, not apply a tourniquet. You can apply a pressure bandage, but the priority is to reach the hospital at the earliest. If possible, if you're certain that it's a venomous snake bite, try to remove any tight constricting materials like rings, watches, or bracelets, because sometimes swelling can occur because of these venomous snake bites.
okay. Thank you so much.
Avinash, one quick question now. For example, these non-venomous snakes, I would assume that sometimes they might also bite us if there's an human-animal conflict. Now, in those situations, I mean, number one, do and non-venomous snakes also bite human beings in certain situations, end up biting?
Yeah. All species are capable of biting. They have teeth and they can defend themselves. People do get bitten by non-venomous snakes most of the time. If someone is not sure what snake bit them, it is always best to treat it as a venomous snake bite and reach the nearest hospital. The doctors will keep you under observation, and then if there are no symptoms that occur, they will send you home in 24 hours. But if you're certain if it's a non-venomous snake, you can simply bite the site with clean water, apply antiseptic, and take a tetanus shot as an added precaution. That's about it.
So Avinash, I think our society is pretty much community is in between, the forest, the lake, right? And this will be a long-term thing. So from a long-term perspective, as you said, from a food chain, is there any way that we can look at even like the completing the food chain where we have peacocks or some of the ones that keep these snakes away? Would that be a feasible option? Because I know that I think in some cases we're not allowed to tame peacocks, right? But is there any?
Correct.
There are a lot of wild peacocks all over. But is there any way we can have these peacocks inside the community, like from a legal standpoint, which we can control the snake population?
Legally, no. If an animal were to fly into your community, or rather, if you have enough, habitat for a peafowl to come and stay, then you're okay. But because you're not kind of trapping the animal and things like that. But other than that, capturing a peafowl and getting it placed in a particular area is not feasible, and it's also not legal. Peafowl, although they are like heavy-bodied animals, they are capable of flight. So they're bound to move several kilometers on a regular basis. So it's difficult to restrict these animals in one particular place. Especially in our urban environments, we because of space constraints, it is very difficult for us to create a landscape for wildlife. Although we talk about coexistence, it has to be a policy from the government where we are having larger areas which are protected, and then we have urban communities, right? So if at all there's an animal incursion, we could probably capture this animal and then send it back to the protected forest space. That's a workable option. However, when we have very tight-knit communities and when we don't have space, then it's very difficult to coexist, especially in our current scenario.
What about Guinea-Kodlu? They say Guinea-Kodlu they can stop.
Yeah, you can keep guinea fowl. The only thing is that these animals are very noisy, and then they are not really good at controlling snakes that are large. They end up eating smaller ones, but large ones they are not good at controlling.
So it's fertile.
Guinea and turkey can be also used.
So it's futile to have them, is it?
Not futile, because they do a lot of pest removal. They consume not just insects. They also consume lizards and things like that. So yeah, you can have them, but
Half a
that said,
dozen.
they cannot control
Half a dozen
snakes
or
as
so.
such.
Uh, uh, Avinash, yeah, I'm Santi here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this session is very good and informative. For a
Thank you.
person like me. I have two questions,
Yes,
Avinash.
sir.
One is sometimes I just I heard when a person is bitten by the snake, he is taken to the hospital. He is asked to describe the type of snake. So I would like to understand whether the venom is anti venom is snake specific, or anti venom is one size fits all kind of thing.
Yeah. So antivenom, is common for all the big four venomous species, be it a cobra, viper, soft-scaled viper, or a common krait. There's only one antivenom that is produced in India and is also given to patients. But that said, or rather, the dosage of antivenom varies between species. So if it's a cobra bite, someone can be treated using 10 vials of antivenom. If it's a viper, it can go up to 20 or 30 vials, right? So
Okay.
the dosage will vary depending on the species. So that's why doctors try to understand from the patient as to what type of a snake bit the victim, first thing. And they also do other tests with which they confirm if it's a hemotoxic or a neurotoxic venom. They
Okay.
observe the patient, their symptoms, and also they do blood clotting tests. There's a test called WBCT20, which says whole blood clotting tests for 20 minutes. In case of viper bites, the clotting factors are used up in the body, and the blood no longer clots after some point in time. So when blood is placed in a beaker, even after 20 minutes, it fails to clot. So if the 20-minute blood clotting test is a fail, or rather is a failure, then doctors can safely assume that it is a hemotoxic snake bite, either a Russell's viper or a soft scale viper. So they
Okay.
have these tests that they perform, and then they decide on the dosage of the antivenom.
Okay. And my second question is, rather, I cannot call it a question, maybe a suggestion. Can we release mongoose in our community? Because, somebody, my neighbor, was suggesting, guinea and all, to just, control the snake population, Can we release mongoose? Mongoose, they fight the snakes, right? So in the community, is it a good way to, I mean, what do you suggest, Mr. Avinash?
See, all of these animals, all these monkeys are good at controlling smaller snakes. If it's a larger snake, if it's a large cobra, it might end up killing and eating a mongoose, right? So it might not be legally feasible bringing wildlife, and then it is also not viable because these things will create more problem. You'll have very similar to rodent infestation. You'll have a lot of burrows in and around your area, and if they happen to kind of leave your property after a bit, then you will have a lot of newer problems that kind of crop up because of these animals. So
Okay.
avoid mongoose, but you can always invest in guinea and turkey. These are fowl that are capable of reducing snake prey, and then also they consume smaller snake individuals. So
Yeah, I have one more. Please permit me. See, in Amazon, or in our community, somebody, some of us, circulated, some instrument which makes, creates waves, which,
correct.
frightens the snakes away. That is one I have seen. Second thing is, some powder, if you spray, around your villa, your property, it will deter the snakes, something like that I heard. How much they are useful?
Okay. Unfortunately, both of these repellents do not work for snakes. One is the ultrasonic device, which kind of creates a lot of ultrasonic vibration at a repeated, or rather in a repeated manner, and they claim that these ultrasonic repellents keep snakes away, but that is not true. Ultrasonic has been proven to not work back in the 1970s itself. US government had, back then had banned these items as false claims because they have no effect on snakes. First thing. Second thing, the chemical repellents that have a pungent odor might not be successful in keeping snakes away, because just like human beings, snakes can choose to smell or not. So if there's a line of foul smelling chemical repellent that we apply, a snake can simply not smell in that area, go past that area and find a proper hiding or whatever. So these are really not effective in keeping snakes out.
Okay, what about turmeric? Somebody said turmeric powder also can.
Does not work, sir.
Okay.
Sometimes the snake charmers, they kind of bring in snakes with a lot of turmeric on them. Although it is an irritant for a snake, if turmeric enters into the nostrils and all, it can be an irritant. That said, it is not lethal, and it will have no effect on the snakes, which have a nice protection of scales that kind of keep the snake's body intact or safe.
Yeah, thank you, Avinash.
Avinash, one or two questions which I just noted. One is
yes.
In an unfortunate incident of a snake bite, we need to be in the hospital within 1 hour. Now there are few hospitals around. The worst situation would be we reach to the wrong hospital where probably there's no vial available, or the doctors probably are not competent enough. We don't have the right set of doctors, knowledgeable doctors who have the skill set for that. So any recommendation in and around our society, if something happens, which are the 1 or 2 hospitals where guaranteed we will get the right set of doctors and the right quantity of vials available even in the night times or emergency times?
Yeah. First, as the community, I think we should do our research to find out what are the hospitals around which have, which are competent or capable of handling snake bites. So we can probably call around all the hospitals, all the major multi-speciality hospitals in and around our area, and make a list of the hospital based on their review and things like that, which can treat snake bites. So in case of an emergency, a person can directly reach out to the particular hospital. From your location, I think Continental is the closest one that I can think of the bat, which is handling snake bite cases. So yeah, that is one thing. But then I would recommend make a list of all the hospitals that are able to handle, and then it should be able to, or rather, you will have a list that you can always refer to in case of a snake bite. Antivenom is something that is present throughout. You have antivenom available in pharmacies also. So there will not be any dearth of antivenom. It's just that sometimes few hospitals are not equipped to handle respiratory failure and things like that. So you'll have to go to a multi-speciality hospital.
And I heard that in some cases 10 to 15 vials are required. So just in case for an emergency, we have actually a small refrigerator in the clubhouse, which we have identified just for this reason. When we have put some vials there, what is the recommendation? How many vials to be on safer side we should keep, so that while going to hospital, we can carry those with us?
Yes, 10 vials would be a good storage. 10 would be sufficient. You have to realize that doctors do not use all the 10 vials in one go. These 10 vials are constituted or reconstituted into saline, and then antivenom is injected to the person over a period of 12 hours or 24 hours. So 10 vials would be a good starting dose for any snake bite. Nowadays, you have antivenom, which is also available in dry powder form, which does not require refrigeration. All you need to do is find a cool, dark place for it. You can also invest in that, which is around the same price mark. It's around 600 or 700 rupees per vial. And I'm saying 10 vials is a good,
And one last question from my side, which is that now in case we do spot a snake in our society, and we often do, and of course, it's not a snake bite situation, but we spot a snake passing by or hiding at a specific spot. What should we do? Should we call friends of snake kind of society, and report, and how do we facilitate it?
Yeah, if a snake is out in the open, it's very difficult for us also to capture because they are very fast moving, and then they also enter rodent burrows without much difficulty. But then if it enters someone's property, and if it will stay inside a particular villa for a long length of time, then call us and we'll send the nearest person to rescue it. Wherever possible, make a note of all the snakes that are spotted, so we are able to arrive at a plan to handle certain species. Now, depending on the species, there can be a lot of sightings in a particular season. Cobras are bound to be spotted right around February, all the start of first week of February all the way till March, because that is the period where cobras mate. So usually cobras are spotted around that period. In the winter season, from November until December end, we spot a lot of Russell's vipers. So if we make a note of snakes that we are spotting, we can be better prepared and give out advisories within our community to be careful of a certain species sighting around that particular season.
Okay, and if we have to call friends of snake in the latter situation which you called upon, are there one or two numbers or some centralized numbers that we can always reach out to?
Yes, I will share the helpline number with you. You can always, that is a 24/7 number that can dispatch the nearest volunteer at the point at your phone call. So keep that handy. We'd gladly help you out.
Avinash, this is Dayakar
sir.
again.
Yes, sir.
What about the shrubs? Some plants are specific that they can repel the snakes, or lemongrass and something like that. So we would like to be educated on that. Would you advise
Yes.
us to go for it?
Okay. So there are these claims that certain species of plants repel snakes and certain attract snakes. None of them are true. Again, these plants do not have any repellent effect. Lemongrass is one thing, and there's another species called Tella usri, which kind of people claim is a good plant at repelling snakes. Unfortunately, these plants do not work. They don't have any repellent as such, and we have rescued snakes right underneath these plants also. Don't have anything very bushy, don't have a lot of vegetation. That way you're avoiding a lot of prey that snakes come in search of. And yeah, if you're able to avoid that, then you'd be better.
Okay. What about snake repellent chemicals? No, you told again, I would like to know, because most of the residents are extremely scary nowadays, because we are getting every day on an average once at least 4 or 5 in a week snakes. So
Chemicals don't work because snakes can choose to smell or not. So
yeah,
they
you
can
told that.
go past a chemical trail without any difficulty. There's a lot of research that has been already done on these chemical repellents. Although technically they might have molecules which are pungent, which can be very repulsive for a snake. That said, snakes without much difficulty go past these chemical trails and enter houses also. One thing that you can invest is probably have a compound wall around every villa. If you already have one, if you have a fencing, reinforce that fencing with a PVC sheet or a mosquito mesh so that the snake does not have sufficient grip to climb over and come. That is something that you can do, but I'll have to look at the aesthetics of it also.
Yeah, actually, to our compound wall, somebody suggested in a report that all the holes should be plugged with cement and all that we have carried out.
That is the major, that is the peripheral wall of your community. Apart from that, if you have open, unconstructed vacant plots, you might have a lot of vegetation there, and snakes can dwell there also. So in such situations, it is good to kind of fence your individual villa also, if you want to be extra careful.
Okay, thanks.
So Avinash, I think general reaction is when they spot a snake, there's a panic, fear, would call security, and the tendency is first try to hit it, right? And I think in the past I've seen where people use the cotton ball, and when they use this carbolic acid, right? When you dip in the carbolic acid and you put, they tend to go away. Is that something which is effective?
Carbolic acid is very pungent, but that said, again, like any other chemical repellent, it only works if a snake were to smell that area. So we have used carbolic acid in the past, but then we've kind of we've stopped using it because snakes do cross these carbolic acid trails without much difficulty. And on top of that, carbolic acid is very corrosive in nature. It's harmful for human beings and also for pets. So we've stopped recommending carbolic acid altogether.
Okay.
Okay. This has been amazingly informative. I think you've burst so many myths, at least for me. I think we are just over time from the community. Any last one or two questions you may have? Kindly share.
Hello, hi, this is Vijay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, really good information. I
Thank you,
just
sir.
want to know if, like you said, if we remove all the bushes in all the villas and open areas, and then close all the gaps around the periphery of the.
Yeah, that's a good
Is
workable
it
solution.
possible to keep them away completely?
Yes. Completely, yes. See, again, we can never be 100% sure, but that's a good strategy to have. You could probably invest in cleaning all the existing vacant plots, remove all the debris, remove all the vegetation, and once you don't have any snakes in your vicinity, then ensure that there are no access points for snakes to enter your community. Ensure that there are no holes in your compound wall. Ensure that the gates, if you have multiple gates, ensure that these gates are reinforced with a PVC sheet so that there's no gap underneath. If you're able to kind of, manage these aspects, yeah, it will kind of keep snakes away. But that said, just remember this, that here we'll have a vacuum. Because of conducive temperatures, snakes might want to get in all the time. So you have to ensure that your periphery is really robust.
Thank you.
Okay. Any last question from anyone?
I think thanks, Avinash. This is very useful and helpful for all of us.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, Avinash. I think
It's my pleasure.
very, very useful. We'll
I will
take
share the presentation and also share a poster. You
Yes.
can all check our website, friendsofsnakes.org. You will find all these content there. And then, should you have any questions, you can always write to us and we'll certainly answer.
Yeah,
Thank you
can
very
share
much.
lifeline number also. I mean, helpline
Sure,
helpline
I'll
number.
share the helpline number also.
Yeah.
I'm
Thank-
sharing my helpline number in the chat. It is 24/7 number, but preferably call if the snake is inside your villa. That way we'll be able to capture it.
See, actually, what's happening? Our security are capturing nowadays, and we are keeping that till you have sent somebody to take it away.
Okay. That is good, but if you have one person in your security team, send them over to us. We'll kind of train them. That way they are also safe, because majority of the snakes that we spot in our area are venomous species, and if they're not careful, then it can be risky for them also.
Oh,
So
great.
if you have only one or
Thanks a
two
lot for that.
individuals,
Yeah, we will do that.
send them across. We'll support wherever possible.
Thank you very much, Avinash.
My pleasure, sir.
Okay. We've noted your helpline number, Avinash. Thank you so much.
All right, sir.
And I'm sharing the recording with you as well for any future use and in the society.
Sure.
All right.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks
and
for
bye-bye.
your time.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Avinash. Thank you very much.
Bye,
you, sir.
everyone.
And thanks for the organizers also.
You're most welcome.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.